Hi, and welcome to another episode of My YA Book Nook, a podcast dedicated to connecting with YA readers and fulfilling its mission, growing book love. Today, I'm going to be discussing two of my favorite murder mysteries. To be honest, I haven't read many murder mysteries, but after getting into a few, I definitely want to read more. Before we start today's episode, let me know what your favorite murder mystery book is. I definitely need some more recommendations. The first book I wanted to talk about is Such Charming Liars by Karen M. McManus. If you remember, I've spoken about this book a little in my very first episode called Page Turners. I read it a while ago and I was really blown away. I've read One of Us is Lying and honestly, I did not like it too much. I tried to read the sequel too, which is One of Us is Next, but I just couldn't. So I didn't really have high expectations for this book, but this one really was amazing. It is pretty different from what McManus usually writes, but I really love the heist murder combination, and I hope she writes more books like these in the future. So for the summary, Kat and her mother Jamie have only known each other to be family, except for the 48 hours when Jamie was married and Kat had a stepbrother, Liam Rooney. After the divorce, Kat and Liam haven't spoken. Now, Jamie is a jewel thief, but she has one final job that could fund Kat and Jamie's entire future, at billionaire Ross Sutherland's birthday party. Kat manages to tag along, but what she doesn't expect is to run into Liam and his father, who is a serial scammer with his sights set on Sutherland's youngest daughter, at the Sutherland compound. When a Sutherland family member dies, Kat and Liam realize that they may be in the killer's crosshairs. Somehow, they become the new targets, and they can't trust anyone but each other. Or can they? If there's one thing Kat and Liam know best, it's how to lie. After all, they did learn from the best. Okay, firstly, I really enjoyed the whole concept. As I've said before, it's a heist, which is something that Karen McManus has never written before. Combining both that and a murder mystery really tied the book up, and I love the combo. This book was a double POV with Kat and Liam, and they are very different. Both have single parents, but the family relationships are not at all the same. Jamie, as a jewelry thief, brings Kat along on certain heists and includes her a lot. They even have this nickname that they're the Grifter Gilmore Girls. With Liam and his father Luke, things are a little different. Luke scams many people, and Liam is actually really disappointed in him and tries to fix his mistakes. Both families manage to land invites to Ross Sutherland's birthday party. When Liam comes home one day to see Annalise Sutherland, he assumes he's just another woman Luke is trying to scam. However, this time is different, and the two go to the Sutherland's compound. On the way, they run into Kat and Jamie, who are there for a completely different reason, to steal Annalise Sutherland's necklace. From there, the book's plot escalates, and that's when it starts getting fun. I wanted to keep reading this book to find out what happened, and wow, are there a lot of twists and turns. I would have never expected the outcome of this book. It had just the right amount of thrill, too. I would keep looking behind my back at certain times during the book, but it was really fun to read and just kept me on edge, and definitely one of my favorite Karen McManus books. If you haven't read this one yet, be sure to check it out. The second book is my favorite thriller murder mystery, and it is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I know that sounds really, really generic, but to be honest, it was really amazing. Definitely much better than I thought it would be. I had always wanted to read this one because it's really popular, but I only got to read it recently, and as I said, completely blew me away, and I was shocked to learn that it's her debut novel. She's such an amazing writer, and I'm super excited to continue reading the rest of the series. When I was just starting to get into the book, I was reading the back to learn a little more about it, and it said it would have an ending you would never expect. So while I'm reading this book, I am over reading predictable murder mysteries, and even as I'm getting through it, I'm like, what is she talking about? This is so predictable. It is not. I was so severely humbled, and the last couple chapters were insane. This book definitely kept me on the edge of my seat. I was literally rushing home every day just so I could keep reading. So let me tell you a little more about it with the summary. The whole town of Fairview knows what happened. High school senior Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend, Sal Singh, who later killed himself. The story was all anyone could talk about. 5 years later, Pippa sees the after effects of the tragedy that still haunts Fairview. However, she can't shake the feeling that the town doesn't have the whole story right. She knew Sal when she was younger, and it was hard to believe that he did what he had done. Pip decides to reopen this case for her senior capstone project. At first, it was just to show her doubts with the original investigation, but as things escalate, she discovers a trail of dark secrets that could suggest another outcome to the story. The line between past and present begins to blur. Someone in Fairview knows exactly what Pip is up to and doesn't want her digging around. Soon enough, Pip realizes her whole life could be in danger. There were so many things I loved about this book, but first of all, the structure. I liked how some of the book was written from Pippa's point of view, some through interviews, others through something they called the project log. It was just really fun to read, and it was something else they added to keep you engaged through the different kinds that they tell the story through. It also impressed me a lot because it truly did keep me on the edge of my seat, really did have an ending that shocked me, especially when we got more into the mystery. I was so engaged in it. It also had a very nice ending. Everything was thoroughly explained and there were no missing spots. It also combined a little bit of romance, and I love the girl power vibes coming from this book. I would definitely recommend reading this book if you're in a reading slump. I actually am right now, so I definitely want to keep reading this series. Reading this book was such an amazing experience, and I wish I could go back and read it all over again. This book also has a series dedicated to it, and actually the second season is filming this year, but they haven't talked about release dates yet. Holly Jackson also has a new book coming out this year in July, and it's called Not Quite Dead Yet. It seems to have a really interesting plot. It is an adult book, though, so for both of these books, be sure to check out the trigger warnings before you read. And those were two of my favorite murder mysteries. Such Charming Liars is a great combination of genres, murder mystery and heist, which has just the right amount of thrill. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was a stunning debut that truly shocked and engaged me, and both have very strong female main characters. If you like this podcast, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Spotify. Tell others about this podcast so we can grow book love together. Thanks for being here today, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks.